Hello everyone. Today we will be analyzing the various mechanics and themes present within my discipline, computer science. First and foremost, if we want to understand computer science literature, then we should first know that computer science is often abbreviated to CS. Computer scientists like their abbreviations, and the field's name is no exception to that rule. Computer science literature is largely written with the intent of being used by those reading it. It serves as a guiding point to those looking for a solution to a given problem, or as a new implementation strategy that can push the field forward. In nearly all cases, the work is authored in such a way so as to be applied to the reader's own work. This is a very important idea, as it serves as the backbone for the rest of our discussion on the form CS literature takes and why it takes that form. So again, CS literature is written largely with the intent of being used by the reader, however the reader sees fit. Because of this purpose, computer science papers are largely structured in such a way so as to make the paper easily used as a reference to the reader. The layout allows for the reader to quickly find the pertinent information within the text without even necessarily reading through it in its entirety. Each paper begins with an abstract which outlines the purpose of the article, the topics covered within the article, and the conclusion to the ideas explored within the paper. This allows the reader to get a more general sense of the ideas discussed in the article without even needing to delve deep into it. This also makes the finding of valuable sources when conducting academic research much easier. After the abstract, the paper will have a brief introduction section that serves as the typical background information and thesis, not unlike many other academic works from other disciplines. Following the intro, the paper gets into the topics it wishes to discuss, giving each topic a descriptive heading so as to make it easy for the reader to find the topic they're looking for. If a topic is large enough, it will be broken down into subtopics which further describe the overarching topic. The sections are often littered with bits of code and diagrams which serve to further explain and clarify topics to the readers. CS articles are written in the same style as other science disciplines. They have an impersonal, academic tone, and refrain from using words such as I, we, or me that may reveal human hands had an involvement in the project. This is interesting, however, it is not unlike the other science disciplines. What really sets CS literature apart from the other discourses is the incorporation of three key things: the heavy reliance on code, the elaborate diagrams, and academic jargon. Each one of these things contributes to the article by making it easier for the reader to understand the, sometimes quite abstract, topics being discussed within the article, making it more likely that the reader will use what is being discussed in their own work. A vast majority of CS literature incorporates code in their papers. This makes sense not only for the obvious reason that the discourse is practically about code, but also because the code fulfills the general purpose of CS literature. By incorporating code, the article can transmit the most fundamental essence of what the author is trying to convey to the reader. Why describe in English what 10 lines of code does when simply showing the 10 lines of code allows the reader to gain so much more understanding? If the reader can see the code themselves and understand it, they can step through what is being discussed in their own mind, making it a much more powerful tool than descriptive language alone. Having a CS paper without code is like having a mathematics paper without any math. It just doesn't really make sense. The code presented within the articles is also often provided in such a way as to be easily implemented in other programs the reader may be working on outside of the topic of the article. Diagrams are often used in conjunction with code, particularly if the relationship between multiple objects is being explored. These diagrams are also an extension of the general purpose of computer science articles. If a picture speaks 1,000 words, perhaps a CS diagram speaks 10,000 lines of code. These diagrams inform the reader as to complex relationships between the various objects so as to make it easier for the reader to understand what is being discussed in the article, thereby making it more likely for the reader to apply the ideas being discussed within the paper to their own work. Computer science papers use quite a bit of academic jargon, making them almost comically difficult to interpret for those outside of the discourse, as well as for those just getting started in the discourse. However, this jargon too serves an important purpose in fulfilling the intent of the CS article. It allows for the more accurate transmission of information to the reader and makes the paper less verbose and easier to decipher. Which of these do you prefer? JVM, or the virtual machine made by Oracle, which compiles Java bytecode into assembly so as to be executed on the local host. The vocabulary allows the paper to be much more clear and concise, fulfilling the main purpose of CS articles by increasing the transmission of information between the reader and the paper, facilitating the usage of the paper as a resource for the reader to use. Because the goal of CS literature is to be used in the reader's implementations, it is created in such a way so that it is easy for the reader to reference later. CS literature manifests itself in this easy-to-parse format to make it more likely that the reader of the article will implement what is being discussed in the article. The usage of code, diagrams, and jargon increase the information transmitted between the reader and the author, furthering the ability of the reader to understand and therefore implement what is being discussed in the article. This sets CS literature way apart from other discourses, as even the most theoretical discussions in computer science often have the intent of being used by the community at large, thereby pushing the field towards the future.